frozen. It's a really unfortunate face that I'm
Okay, Belle, we do not have you on video at the moment to be able to start.
Okay.
Wait, when you say start, let's talk about that, because what are we actually doing?
It rhymes with plural.
Let's all sing a song about mural.
No, that's fair enough.
You're amused.
First off,
You decided you're keeping that background for the whole bit.
I can't change it. I don't know how to get rid of it.
like it.
Yeah, I put shoes
I
on.
haven't got shoes on. I've just got my fluffy socks.
I think you've got a bit of sauce on your face.
Mine says recording. Does that mean I'm recording? Sorry, I know that.
This will be a product. It just might be used in your end of year review.
I feel
I'm going to kick us off because people have been, this funny thing has happened in COVID where everyone's working from home all of a sudden. So everyone's on these virtual meetings. And that was quite exciting for the first couple of weeks. Everyone was like, that was quite novel. You know, people didn't know what you were wearing. You could have weird backgrounds like Belle, it didn't matter.
Like
But
right
then
now.
that wore off, right? That wore off. So the next stage of that, I want to know how many people have done a meeting with people wearing silly hats.
We're looking at you, Belle.
Yeah.
or a hilarious shirt.
Yeah. Well,
Appearance.
here's the thing. I don't want to, diss this or upset you, but a PowerPoint with a silly hat is still a PowerPoint.
The thing about the hat is it's not about the hat, right? Like, it's about trying to show a bit of yourself and be more human on a Zoom and to kind of see that in the rest of your team. But it's just started to get a little bit old now.
Well, it's almost like this ongoing evolution. So you start with the hat, but then the hat gets old, and what's the new thing then? And it's all of these things is about making human connection, right? And so the thing that like we've eventuated to in a lot of my groups is around like using storytelling, because that's sort of, I think that's timeless in itself. It doesn't get old. It's not a gimmick.
Yeah, because it's all about the experience, right? Oh, Belle's frozen again. Profound thing. But I mean, in much the same way that you'd go, what's the experience we're going to create in a physical setting, and how are we going to help elevate a conversation? How are we going to help people to do work? We're still having to design that, but just having people work remotely as the new design constraint, I suppose. So it's kind of starting from the point of what's the human experience rather than how can we use the technology.
Recently, I had an experience where we were trying to work out how to engage this quite senior group of people virtually. And we asked more questions. We thought, well, actually, if we were physically in the room together, we have experience in how we would facilitate a conversation with a broad group of key stakeholders. Like we know some of the rules and patterns that we'd set, and we wanted to do a similar thing in the virtual world, but we're told that the technology was going to be the constraint, and oh no, they couldn't play that way. And in actual fact, when it came to the session, we said, all right, well, instead of in the physical world, you could sort of get eye contact with people, but we said use the chat function and just write hand up or question in the chat. And everyone in the lead up said, there's no way that this group will do that. And we set the ground rules up front, and they played perfectly.
And I reckon people are just getting better at it now as well.
Yeah.
All of these people that were once probably total technophobes, including myself.
I was about to say,
Yeah. Like, I feel like I've gotten a whole lot better at using technology in this, like, in a really short time frame. And I feel like most people have. So it almost, in a way, lends itself to doing things you may not have been able to do when this whole thing started, because people have more awareness of technology and what they can do.
I was completely petrified before facilitating my first virtual session. Like, I was so nervous. And then to Stacey's point, the more you have groups through and people actually rise to it and get excited by it. And I think the really interesting thing is it's actually more democratic, right? So in a physical space where people would look to the most senior person or the person who talked loudest or first, actually you can use Mural, and it means that everyone's equal and everyone's kind of ideas are equal. I think it's better for brainstorming, much better than virtual physical. So I think initially we kind of thought, oh, we have to use this because we've no choice. But now I can see the advantages, even if we could go back to the office.
What's interesting, I thought that was interesting what you said, Sonia, about it's more democratic, because I wonder if people are more likely to be involved if it's virtual rather than in the physical room.
Yes, you have the equal power, but the barrier that we have to cross, which is tough, is the thing about being present. Because in a physical space, we can almost force people to be present. Like, take their phones, create a new experience, take them away from their desks. And I think that's really hard. You have to create such a compelling experience and be so clear about your instructions.
Yeah, I think that's the design challenge here, Sonia, right? So I think the level of design thinking that you have to put into running sessions in the virtual world is completely different, and yet still got elements the same from a physical world. But you can't just translate what you were going to do, which we saw for a while, people just translating what I was going to do this session face to face, I will now run the same thing virtually. And sometimes you might have got through that at the beginning, but the game has changed now. And I think the experience layer and actually designing and understanding the way that people are working in this sometimes hybrid world of, having both online and offline, and then side group chat conversations, then coming back into large plenaries, you've got to design completely differently to make sure you maximize that impact.
Yeah, and riffing on that, Lawrence, I think there's even an opportunity to go beyond this idea of a session and just so traditionally we might run a 1-day session or a 2-day session. If you try and replicate that in a virtual environment, it'll kill people almost. It's horrible. This is an opportunity to break the mold and go, how could you put chunks of things over a series of days, over a series of weeks even, and kind of have long form collaboration.
I actually love that. And it also makes me think about the whole sleep on it idea, because it's so much easier to build that in now and to kind of send people away to do other things and to mix up audio and video and going into the real world and doing small groups. So yeah, I think that, to Lawrence's point, I don't think you can do a 3-day workshop on Zoom, but you can get to the end objectives that you would have achieved in that 3-day workshop through this and, using Mural and using Zoom if you design it well.
I think it comes up with potentially more creative things, even using the same tools. Like an example, Stace and I ran a session the other day, and we actually created a treasure map with a whole lot of video call links, and we got people to kind of duck in and out of video calls. And it almost replicated a sort of similar experience you might have in a physical room where you're meeting new people kind of rapidly, but it made it really fun. But we were just using simple tools. It wasn't anything super creative. It was Mural and some Google Hangouts.
Because that's the thing, is that it's not just people maintaining their attention span and all of that sort of stuff. It's people interacting with other people in it, other sort of people who are watching. Like if you go to a conference or whatever, you listen to the speaker, but you also meet other people and network and all that sort of stuff. So you just have to make sure that there's enough collaboration and enough challenges like the treasure map that allows people to actually talk with each other and learn more things and share.
It's the premise of experience and exploration, right? Rather than just being told information and just passively being talked at or being talked to. Being able to create, because I was in that session, Tom, so the one which had that guidance, there was a feeling of wonder in it, in that it was something that we hadn't been through before. You got the opportunity to meet new people, but you had to actually find something out. And it actually created a bit of gameplay. And just for that little minute, it actually made you forget that you were on a corporate Zoom piece, that you had done the productivity session in the day before, and actually allowed you to just meet people almost in the same way as you would in a face-to-face manner. And I think the more of that we can get in, obviously the better, but I think that's the key.
I was designing an engagement the other day, and they said, 3.5 hours, that seems like a long time, and had to just make sure that I was clear with them and said, that's pushing the longest we can go without, thinking about, giving them big lunch breaks and things because they're sitting down. But they said, the natural thing was, why don't we just make it shorter? 3.5 hours is too long. Let's make it 2 hours. And actually forgetting the purpose of the engagement in the first place. And that was about to build human connection. And I said, if we do make it shorter, we can absolutely do a 2-hour thing, but it becomes much more tactical, practical, like try to get to a solution. And actually what we lose is the number one objective of the whole thing, which is to get people to meet each other, understand where they're coming from, know what's important, and build relationships. And so actually we could do a 2-hour thing, but we'd flip it on its head and say, we're not going to come up with the project action plan, and we're just going to spend 2 hours being really social virtually. And that would have been success.
And the tendency seems to be, let's make it shorter, but let's try and achieve the same amount that we were going to be. And so what would have taken 45 minutes face-to-face, sure, we can do that in 20 minutes. And then all of a sudden people find themselves in very, very tactical conversations because there's no time to, go broad and play with what ifs and put a wild idea out there. We've just got to get, right down to business.
I was involved in something that we did for the new grads. I think there were 140 who were on the call. They did, I think it was about 3 days. It was all, obviously online, and it worked really, really well because it was so mixed up. There was so much variety, and at the end of it, all 140 grads got the opportunity in Mural to build an artwork. So it was like this jigsaw puzzle of an artwork, and everyone had to work out how to turn it into this really beautiful piece. And I just thought that was fantastic. What a great use of time. And when you were doing it, you completely forgot that you were on a video.
With that idea of playfulness, we did an Easter egg hunt in our team at Easter time, which was a few months ago, but that's how long we've been here for, which was probably like your scavenger hunt, Tom, with the treasure mart. And it was, competitive, and all of a sudden you found yourself in this game. You forgot that you were at work and you had to get as many Easter eggs as you could get. As you imagine, I got very excited about this game, but it was so fun and playful. The energy sort of that it created, and people just sort of forgot that they were, in the middle of a session trying to, do a strategy map or something like that.
Yeah, so what do you think about the idea of actually sending, like having sending something in the physical world as well as the digital world?
Yeah, I love that.
Like another step we can go to.
I think that's really important. I think the challenge will be as well when we start to move towards hybrid presentation at events, right? So the rules of engagement are pretty well known when everybody's in the same room. I think we've all become patterned to the ways of working when we're all in a virtual world and online. But very soon we're going to end up in this hybrid world with some in face-to-face and some online, and this ability now to make sure that we are flexible enough to always have an online component, I would assume, into all of the type of work we're going to do. So how do you bridge that gap between the physical and virtual world, and how do you design for that mixed environment?
There probably won't be a blanket solution either. There's not going to be one answer to this, and this is why the question is really hard, and that each instance we're going to have to carefully design and think about. When are the times that, say, we do have a group that partly people are physical and partly people are remote, when are the times that everyone has to be, all individually remote to connect in? When are the times that, say, the people that are together would just work together while the people are remote work together separately? But when does it add value to the group? That maybe half are doing something different, but when is it detracting from the overall outcome as well? And we're going to have to design for that, and we're going to have to play around with it, because I just don't think that there's going to be one solution.
I think that's right, but the payback is amazing, right? Like, you used to have to fly people in to a session, and now you can actually get the most amazing diversity of participants and inclusion than you ever could have had before. You can make it seem more democratic. Like, we're all learning, obviously, and we've kind of had some early wins and some stuff that we're still working out, but I think we're now at the point where you can see that the output will be amazing as we work towards it.
Apart from the fact that my frequent flyers will take a serious hit as a result of that.
Brutal.
As I think it is such an opportunity to apply creative thinking to the situation, because it is literally the tipping point into a whole new world of things, and we're right at the beginning of it. And I think that's really exciting, because that doesn't happen very often in your career or in your life, that the next big thing comes in. And for this, it's obviously going to be having that hybrid virtual and real world.
So I think you're going to end up with more production studio and production quality coming into what was previously.
You mean like this?
No, we're going to emerge. Yes, exactly. I think we're going to emerge from our Zoom and sort of personal VC into more conversational and mix of in-person but produced content, right? So I do think from a creativity perspective, it's going to lift the game. It's going to allow people to think a bit more than just, I need to transact, so I'm going to do this virtually. I've now seen I can be productive online, but now I'm going to see how I can move, how I can create emotion, how I create sentiment. All those things that would have been done in a marketing sense, but actually done now in a business sense internally as well as with clients. What are your final thoughts or your wrap-up comments from everybody?
Someone said to us once that they looked forward to working with us because it was the greatest meeting that they would have in their day. And I think that's what I try and go into all of the work that I do, given the fact that it's so hard to differentiate ourselves if we're always in these rectangles. What's the pre-thinking required to ensure that hour, 2 hours, 4 hours is memorable, engaging, and the greatest meeting that our participants have in their day?
Yeah.
And that takes time and thought.
Yeah, I'll just piggyback off the back of that, because I think it is about the thoughtfulness of time and preparation that we put into people's time of the day and actually valuing their time of turning up, because I think people are dealing with so many back-to-back meetings that so many don't have purpose or value that they walk away with. How do we make sure that interaction is a value add to their day and the work that they're doing?
I would say as a creative thinker, as we all are, I'm incredibly excited about what we can do moving forward with this, because it's, as I think I said before, it's a whole new way of doing things, and that's exciting. We have the opportunity to really lead that with some really, really strong creative thinking, and because we've got such strong models and such strong principles, but how can we make it completely different for people? I think that's really exciting.
I think true collaboration is not easy because it involves friction. It involves people's paradigms, like trying to find a new paradigm. Like, that's hard. And I think it's hard whether you're in the physical environment or the virtual environment. And so I think the important thing to remember in the virtual environment is that the way you design interaction really, really matters, because you're not just trying to have a meeting. And I think almost like starting from a frame of mind that this is not a meeting. I'm trying to help people, blend good stuff from their experience in a useful way. So I need to care about it. I need to think about it.
I feel like for me, what's really interesting is I think we've just thrown out loads of our preconceptions, because we just used to have all these assumptions that held us back. And we're like, you can't do this remotely. You can't do true collaboration like that. You can't create a really engaging experience over a video call. It won't happen. I think we kind of had these requirements for us. And the exciting thing has been that we've come a really long way just in kind of a few months. It's really clear that actually, to Tom's point, you can do true collaboration virtually, which opens up so much and is so exciting that I think we're all learning together, but the end destination will be better than where we came from, I think.
For me, it's also making sure that we still bring in the right amount of play and whimsy into the work that we do. Especially when so many people are going from one thing to the next, the ability to slow down, to still have an experience, to explore, to play, to be delighted and to be surprised is so critical to creating, deep memory and enjoyability in the work that they're doing. So I think that's really key, and it's important to us as designers. It's important to anybody who's in this way of working, to not just go for the tactical and to actually really think what would surprise and delight in this experience that I'm creating. The more play and whimsy we can bring into the world, the better, as far as I'm concerned.
I think so. And the more fun, people forget a lot of it's about fun, like it's fun for us, but it's also fun for the participants. And I think we forget that, we can forget that a little bit too easily in business. So the more fun, the better, I say.
All right, let's call that.
If you don't have fun with the problem, you'll never solve it.
Another quote.
Ching.
Play it out, Tom. So I think that's
for making collaboration happen. Right. See ya.
Me too. See ya.